There we go. Okay. Welcome back, everybody, to Bytown Housing. Happy New Year. And why don't we get right into it? Any additions or changes to the agenda today? All right, moving right along. Just a quick reminder that the BDCC, in conjunction with Wyndham and Windsor Housing Trust, is hosting that multifamily home buyer course. That takes place January 18th, 20th, 25th, and 27th. All of those classes are from 5:30 to 7 p.m. at night. It has been shared on our website, I believe on our housing Facebook page. I might throw it up there again just to try to get people to register. There is a link for all of you in the chat. If that is something that interests you or know someone who it might interest, please feel free to share it. But it was, it's a news item on our website. It's gone out in our business updates and things like that. I know we've shared it a bunch of other places. If anybody wants to attend, that link is right there. Okay. I'm pretty sure that I'm going to be participating. I'm not in the market for a multi-family home, but if we need a representative there just to kind of listen along and see what it's all about, I'm happy to do that. Okay. Facebook page update, Gretchen. So
I just have a question. Do you know how many people have signed up for this class? Do you know anything about it, Sue?
No.
Me?
Oh,
yeah.
Sue.
No. I don't know. No.
Yeah. Facebook. So the last month, when we were on this call, it was not working. And I think that it was across the board. It wasn't just ours that was not working, because I went back to it and everything seemed fine. I spent like some time going through it. And so I don't know, if something happens again, let me know. I didn't actually check it today, but I'll do that as we move on to make sure that it's working. But so share away.
Perfect. Just a brief update from me on the employer housing survey. So I sent that out after our last meeting, for our discussions at the last meeting. I did hear back from one or two of you with thoughts. So at that point, I made the changes that were recommended and launched it. Again, shared from the Deerfield Valley housing page on Facebook. It is shared on Discover Dover, as well as DoverVermont.com as a news item. It was in our last business email update. So if you see that anywhere, by all means, please feel free to share it for us. If you are in contact with other business owners, say, hey, it's really helpful for you to take a look at this and fill it out. I think we have one response right now, which doesn't give us the best collection of data that we would hope for, but you got to start somewhere. So it only launched like last week, I think, and it is getting clicked through the emails and whatnot. So again, if you see it, share it. If you have any issue with what was finally put out, let me know. But like I said, I did put it out for review, and when I thought I had heard from everybody I was going to hear from, I launched it. Okay.
Well, I did it. I responded to it. So
fair enough.
So I don't know if I'm the one.
Well, then maybe we have more than one response.
I did it right after it went up.
Because I think the response we had claimed they only had 2 employees.
Well, that's on me.
Well, there you go.
But,
so then we have 2 responses. This is excellent news. Here, I'm going to send you guys, sorry, I don't mean to just keep dumping links on you, but I'll share.
I was just going to ask for that.
Yeah. So here's the link to it on DoverVermont.com, where you can get the link to the survey. Okay. Any questions on that? All right. Moving right along. Same with the shared housing. So thank you, Sue, for reaching out to Anna Marie after our last meeting to just kind of confirm that she's happy to help us move forward with, kind of getting the word back out there. I did update the wording of what was originally a press release before and have relaunched that again on the Facebook page, all of the spots. That link I will send you now as well. Do we want to try to run another ad for this? Do we want to see if the free, I mean, when we talked about it at the last meeting, you know, everybody was kind of in agreement that we would do like the free avenues until the holidays were over, and then we would consider running another ad. What's the interest in us running an ad for this now? Anyone?
Press release, free,
Press release, okay.
free.
Even though we've already run it once as a press release?
It's different now because it's another opportunity,
Gotcha, okay,
right?
fair enough.
It's a different day, it's a different year, it's a different
Yeah,
opportunity.
okay.
We'll
Everybody
run
okay
it.
with that?
Okay,
I'm good with that. As you know, if we don't get a response though in a couple of weeks, I would suggest that we try to run an ad. And I think we have money, right? Eric, still a wee little bit.
A wee little bit. I think we're probably down, don't quote me on this, I think in like the $300 range at this point,
Mhm.
from our initial $500 gift. Okay, so I'll kind of update the wording there. I know, Sue, that Anna Marie said that she'd be happy to, you know, hear from people directly. In the one that I put out, I did ask them to kind of contact me because I thought maybe I'd be able to assist with that vetting process a little bit, so that Anna Marie doesn't have to, you know, and we can kind of avoid some of the issues we had last time, you know, before we even get to that point. So I'm happy to be that contact person. It's not, you know, that's not a huge lift for me. So I will probably keep it that way as long as you guys are okay with it, and just have any interested party reach out to me, and then I'll get them in touch with Anna Marie on the free classes. Okay.
okay.
So Anna Marie was not really willing to be that person for this project.
She is now.
She wasn't the first time around.
Right.
But when Sue spoke to her, she said, you know, if you guys think it'll help to streamline the process a little bit, then she said she was okay with it. But again, I don't mind taking that on, and I think it will allow us to vet those people before we even send them to Anna Marie, and that she just doesn't have to worry about it.
Right, but I think that's part of the problem is that that the person is not getting in touch directly with her.
Okay.
And, you know, like she's holding all the information.
Mhm.
We're really not. And that they have to go through us to get to her. I mean, like, yeah, we're paying for it. I don't
Right.
know, maybe you're right. Maybe they do need to go through us.
Well, you know,
I don't know.
it's 6 of one, half dozen of another, I think. If Eric does it, I think he's going to experience the same thing I did, frankly, that people are interested, but unless they're really motivated, they don't do the next step. So then he will know that sooner rather than later. If it goes directly through Anna Marie, she's going to get where these people are at, and she will get back to us with that information, you know, and whether or not they've taken the courses and what she experienced. So in some respects, I would think maybe going directly to Anna Marie this time and letting her actually to also experience that, whatever the response is, and get back to us. So I think you know, I don't want to overburden you, Eric. But the flip side is then you really get a sense of where people are at. with this idea of sharing housing courses.
Right.
I think you'll get that sooner than if it goes directly through Anna Marie, but it also is a benefit to Anna Marie to see what the response is and, you know, how she might tweak things. Either way, I think you're both going to get the same, and we will get the same information.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, that's that, you know, the first part of your thought process there was mine to say, if it seems like the people who initially showed interest aren't going to continue on to the next step, and we kind of get the idea of that, we can then keep pushing to fill that spot. Whereas if we could end up waiting 3 months for Anna Marie to be like, oh, I never heard from this person. You know what I mean? So I'd rather have that knowledge firsthand and then just try, you know, try everything we can to get them to that next step once we kind of bring them into like the, hey, I'm interested phase. And then we do everything we can to help push them to Anna Marie so that, you know, we don't have that disconnect. I'm not and by no means so am I trying to imply that you didn't last time. I'm just saying.
No, you know, there's nothing wrong with the idea of somebody else trying, and, you know, and maybe the personalities will be entirely different this second time around. You know, so it's worth trying. And I guess if you've got the time to do that initial connection,
Yep.
you know, then I'd say go. It's a good thing to do. You're making a personal connection, and that will be good for the long term if the person does go through and wants some support from here in the Valley beyond what Anna Marie will give. And like you say, you'll know sooner than later how it's going.
Right. Perfect. So I will get that press release put together for next week. Does that work, Vicky?
Sure.
Okay. And I will send that off. Okay. But again, any of this stuff that you see on Facebook or any of the links I shared, please feel free to share them from your personal page, from your business pages. There's Becky. The more we spread the word, the better. And the more we all kind of link back to each other on these things, the better we are too. Okay. Gretchen, an update on the VHCB housing consultant grant.
Okay, so we had talked several months ago about the Vermont Housing and Conservation Board. They have a technical assistance grant, and you work with a consultant, and it's a pretty easy application. You write a letter and ask if you can work with a consultant, and you have to name the consultant, and you know, and identify a scope of work. And we reached out to Connie Snow, who used to be the Wyndham Windsor Housing, the housing executive director.
Trust.
And she never got back to me. I sent another email, never got back to me. I talked to Jenny at VHCB, and she said that she had heard that she took an executive director position for a nonprofit. I'm not sure exactly what nonprofit. So she did provide me with a couple of other names of consultants. However, saying that with all of this housing money coming into the state, there's a lot of these consultants are backed up and are not able to take on new clients. So I'm going to try to reach out to them. But I was also thinking, and I mean, I would have to ask VHCB if that they would allow this, but I'm wondering if we go back to Des Moines and see if we can work with them on these, you know, specific things. I think we're looking at, you know, really how to set up a housing trust and, you know, working through some of these goals that were set in the housing analysis, but how to move those projects forward. So does anybody have a feel of like, would you like to go with a different consultant, or do you think that we should try the avenue of Camoin?
I think we should use Camoin because they are more involved and know what they did the work for us. So they already have a leg up on some people.
Mhm.
And so if they would be, if that's allowed and they would be open to it, I think that'd be a great idea.
I agree.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to check in with Jenny to make sure that that's okay to do. And then I'll reach out to Camoin to see if they have availability and how much that would be. So.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you, Gretchen. Okay, moving right along. So Gretchen pointed it out to me yesterday, and I just wanted to get it on the agenda and kind of talk about it. Last year, and I can't remember exactly which agenda it was, we actually had Paul Martirano from, he's at Wyndham and Windsor, right, Gretchen?
Oh, wait a minute, you skipped over Act 250.
Oh, just kidding. You want to give us an update on the Act 250 funds?
So I have actually done several hours of research. And like you cannot, I mean, it's impossible to find the latest Act 250 permit for Mount Snow or the Hermitage Club. But I actually did find the Hermitage Club one.
Okay.
And it is interesting because, and so, and this is the weird disconnect in all of this. And so they were working off of a 2006, I'm pretty sure it was 2006. Oh, here it is. Yes, November 2006 agreement on affordable housing payments. Jim Barnes did not take, he didn't purchase until 2008, but they used this as an exhibit in 2016 for their Act 250 permit. When you read the agreement, the money was going to Brattleboro Area Community Land Trust and to Habitat for Humanity. And to figure this out, I mean, like, I don't even know how they did it, because it was affordable housing payments will be in the amount of $600 per unit for each of the 450 residential housing units included in the project, increased at the rate of 3% per year for each year after December 31st, 2006. And then it goes on to say $270,000 if paid in calendar year 2006. I mean, this is how convoluted, and how do you figure this out? And then it goes on, there's another page that's for hotel and condominium units that they had to pay a different amount. So it's not cut and dry. It's not like a, you know, and then it said it would stay in effect for 36 months from the date of the first payment under the agreement. And how do you look up if they actually paid?
Yeah.
You know, like, this is just a huge nightmare.
But they got to choose where their money went?
It looks like, yeah. But Bob Rubin is one who signed off on this, and maybe we could have, but the weird part is that the Vermont Housing and Conservation Board signed off on this. Their name is signed on it. So they agreed to not have any payments. I don't know. Like, so I think we're gonna have.
Maybe you should talk to someone there or at the state.
Yeah, so this guy actually who signed this, Gus Seelig,
Oh,
is
yeah,
still there.
right. I've
I'm
heard him.
pretty sure that is his signature.
That's VHCB.
Yeah, you
That's
should
the
talk to
HCP.
him.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, and the Habitat for Humanity, if they did pay any money, it may have gone to the local one. You know, that was in the West River. That was we had a local one. until
And
their-
what's the Brattleboro Area Community Land Trust? I never heard of that.
I know. I wonder if that got changed to
Probably,
Wyndham Windsor Housing.
maybe.
Because this was, again, remember, this was November of 2006.
Right.
But it wasn't signed in 2016?
No, they used it as an exhibit in their 2016. And their permits say that they had to go buy this in 2016. So the permit that they got in 2016 says that they have to go buy this.
Okay.
But
So-
how do you know that
Hey.
it's finished? That like these projects are finished and that they owed it? Like who's
Right.
checking up on that?
Right.
Good question.
Well, that's the problem with Act 250. They never follow up really once a permit is granted. But maybe you should have a conversation with Bob Rubin too,
Mhm.
because he might be able to give you some information about that. I mean, he did work up there for quite a long time.
And Gretchen, you were reading that it's based on the number of completed units?
Yeah. They say it's different on each one. Let's see. Oh,
Well, we know there were no hotel units ever built, and there were certainly many less than 450 housing units.
The building is going on again up there now, isn't there?
Mhm.
yes, there is. A certificate of occupancy from the Department of Labor or Industry, or at the closing on the sale of such unit, whichever occurs first.
Oh,
So, and so then as I researched the newer Act 250 permits for the Hermitage Club, this isn't even mentioned.
Mhm.
So I don't know how much more that we really want to dig into this. Do we just let it go? I mean,
I'm guessing they didn't pay anything because of the timeline on the whole thing and the track record and the whole thing. I'm guessing that there was really no exchange of anything.
right. And then I talked to Tracy at the end of our Bytown Economic Development Committee meeting, and she goes, I don't think we make any payments to VHCB on our Act 250 permit. And she said that she would look into it, but you know, I mean, I don't know, like, and it seems like that they set, you know, like a timeline so that you're not paying in perpetuity, you're paying for a certain amount of time. And chances are for Mount Snow, you know, maybe that timeline is out.
Well, they hadn't
Because-
built any housing units since the Grand Summit, so they definitely paid money with the Grand Summit's permit. That was part of it, but that's years and years and years ago.
Right. So the timeline has probably run out.
Mhm.
And that's why they're not paying it now.
So it would makes sense though to check with VHCB, you mentioned his name. And
Gus Seeley.
and find out if any money was paid by the Hermitage at some point. Probably not, as Vicky says, but I guess you could ask them to look back at their records. With the
But
conservation.
what are we gonna get out of that? Okay, so we find out that, yes, there was payments made. They're still not gonna get this money.
Yeah,
In
if
the
they're
end, at
not,
the end of the day, they're
No.
not going to, the money
It's been
is
spent.
not, I mean, like,
It's come and gone.
exactly.
Well, it
and
doesn't
it's-
sound like it's as much as we thought it was, one. And two, is if any money was in, it's been allocated and it's out.
And it's gone. And
Yeah.
so I think we need to, and the state is not going to come in and save us. We can take advantage of as many things that come down the pike with the new ARPA funding and things like that. I think that we should, go for that.
Yeah.
We might not get it, but I think that we have to swim on our own.
yeah, I think I agree with you, Gretchen. As we can dig into this all day, but like another thing we really don't want to be doing is digging up something and causing trouble for either one of our mountains that somebody may not have realized before. You know what I mean? That's not our place. I don't think it's necessary for us to do that, especially because at the end of the day, I don't see us getting any of that money. So I agree with you. I think, we just continue, we kind of forget about the Act 250 money, because even if they were to start paying that again, they're not going to rewrite the whole agreement they have to change where the money was going in the first place to come to us. The whole process would take more time than I think the dollars are actually worth. So I agree with you.
Yeah, I think my time will be better spent on, working on our goals list
Like anything else.
in our analysis.
Literally anything else.
Yeah, I also agree. I think we'll never see any money from the past. I do want to bring up a question though about Habitat for Humanity, because I understand that they're kind of defunct now. Is that true?
Yes. They gave up their charter or whatever. Yeah,
No, I didn't know that.
Like the local one or like altogether?
the West River.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. I was gonna say, because I still see information online, but that
Right,
makes
no,
sense.
just the local chapter, they lost people and they weren't able to buy land at a reasonable price. So they've become defunct.
Gotcha. Okay. Alrighty, so that was,
And I will definitely follow up with Laura on this as well.
yeah, and I think, okay, we did the exercise, right? If and when another one of these things comes through, like if Mount Snow has to apply for a new permit and there was a requirement for them to be making payments, like maybe then we kind of stick our hand up and say like, hey, if you can choose where that money's going or where it's going to be allocated, like that's, I think, when we try to hop in, like after the fact doesn't seem to be the way to go about it, right? So we'll just keep an eye on it and, put a bug in maybe Tracy and Bill's ears that like, hey, if you do end up with a new 250 permit, and need a place to send those funds as part of it, then let us know. Right? Okay.
Yeah, I think
Eric,
That's-
the bug has been planted. I'm here. This is Dan from Mount Snow Base Operations.
Hey, Dan.
Hey, so the bug has been planted. I'll certainly talk to Tracy about that and figure out, try and get to the bottom of what she knows. Sorry, I'm speaking through a mask. But I'll try and get to the bottom and figure out what that looks like and try and have some information for you.
great,
Awesome.
thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Yep.
Okay, now we will move on to the Vermont Housing Improvement Program. Okay. So again, last year, again, I don't remember what agenda it was. We had Paul Martirano from the Wyndham and Windsor Housing Trust come and speak to us as he was their representative for the VHIP program, which is the Vermont Housing Improvement Program. Basically, property owners are eligible to apply for funds to rehabilitate their rental properties. And I will share my screen here quickly. There we go. Yep, that's the one. Can you guys see this?
Yes.
Okay. So this is the program, repairs of up to $30,000 per unit, all of that happy stuff. So applications for this are actually opening up again very soon. I don't know that last year that we did as good a job as we could have being proactive about getting people to access these funds or at least get some information on it. So that's something I'd really like to see us do this year, because I think there is some value in trying to rehabilitate, some of the housing stock that we do have to bring it up to standard for employee housing. We'll get to, again, we can kind of take care of all the free digital avenues. That's no big deal at all. But does anybody know or have a personal relationship with, a rental building owner to kind of have a conversation with them and point them in this direction to say, hey, these funds are available. We think you should take advantage of them. Whether it be Dover or Wilmington. I mean, Gretchen, I know you have some contacts down that way.
Right. So I know Todd Garris did 3 of his apartments through this program.
That's great.
Last year through the pilot program. So that is really good. And, I plan on reaching out individually, via email with links to the landlords in Wilmington. I think I have a fairly good list of these. So, I did find out yesterday, and I probably should give you an update. I should have added that to the agenda today, but the Southeastern Vermont Coalition, or Wyndham County Housing Coalition.
Southeastern was
I
right.
was on that call. Yes, it was. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. It's so confusing, all of these organizations. So I was on that call yesterday, and Elizabeth Bridgewater was updating us on the VHIP, and she indicated that it was the state of Vermont is lagging on the grant agreement between Wyndham Windsor Housing Trust and the state. So that is the holdup right now. So all of this information, the application, none of that is going to change. That's all going to be the same. So it's just actually a matter of, sending these things out to landlords and trying to get them to fill out the application or, prepare for it at least, so that they're ready to go and take advantage of this program, because there's quite a bit of money. I think it's she indicated there was 5 million in the state. So.
And I think with a program like this, the usage is going to be important. I think hopefully they would have, enough usage that all the money gets used up. But I think, with a program like this, if they don't continue to see that usage, that's what's going to stop them from continuing the program. And I feel like it is a very useful program. So even if we get the same person approved, each year, whatever, if they want to take the initiative to do it, then let's absolutely do it. But I sent the link to the information. It's in the chat there. I will send it out in the email with the recording as well. But I think it's important that we have the information front and center. And if you do, like I said, if you have any kind of personal relationship with anyone that you know that runs, rentals here in the valley, please share the information with them, because even if it's a small project, let's keep ourselves on the map with it.
But
Elizabeth was
applications
worried.
are not available yet?
No,
Okay,
yeah, because
No,
they have to have that grant agreement signed. But they do have the information that you're gonna need for the application. On there.
Okay.
and there's also the contact information there for Paul, like I said, who at Wyndham Windsor, who runs the program, so that they could be in touch with him even prior to that application process to make sure they have everything they need, all their ducks in a row. So the page is a good place to start. You can sign up and receive updates from that page as well, which I'm sure when they do release that application, that'll be in those updates. So go ahead and share that as much as possible, and we'll try to drive some traffic that way and see if maybe we can't get some rehab done.
And Elizabeth did mention in that meeting yesterday that she was a little worried that they were losing momentum
Mhm.
on this because of the lag time that it's been since the pilot program. So
Right,
it's important we get the information out there.
for sure. All right, any questions on that? All right. So, the last 20 minutes or so of the meeting, we were going to kind of just continue the conversation about the creation of our potential housing trust. Okay. And I think kind of the biggest piece, and it's this way with literally everything that we do, is where does the money come from, right? Who's paying for the housing trust? Okay, we can't even begin to think about, okay, what happens with that money once we get it, until we know kind of an idea where that money might potentially come from. I mean, we have a general idea of things that we know we need to address, and I think we understand that to start, we're not looking at millions of dollars in a housing trust. It'll probably start small and hopefully evolve. But so the biggest pieces are going to be finding the funding, and then once we do get the funding, what are the projects we can be doing with that are effective to really kind of tackle some of these problems with housing. Okay. Any thoughts, ideas? I mean, we've talked a bit about the potential of, the Airbnb registration, and that, is kind of a double-edged sword. Beyond that, can anybody think of, additional sources of funding? I don't, in my head, foresee this as something that we can fully sustain using only 1% funds. I mean, I know our economic development department budgets each year for housing master plan initiative implementation, but that doesn't necessarily mean that money goes straight into a housing trust every year either. So any other thoughts, ideas? Not everybody at once.
How have you talked to any other housing trusts at the local level to find out what they've done?
We haven't, only because, well, I haven't. So my thought here is that if we reach out to Wyndham and Windsor and say, hey, we're looking into the potential of starting our own housing trust, that it may potentially muddy the waters.
Right, but how about like in other communities in other parts of the state?
Okay.
So I think the Mad River Valley Planning District has such a thing. I was just looking at their website. I'm not seeing it right now. I have it, half on my screen.
Right.
But that might be one place to start. I don't know where their funding came from, but if you could find that out, that might be useful.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Okay. Other thoughts? Okay.
Well, if this housing trust was to happen, would this be a private group or would this happen through the towns? And the only reason I say that is I've recently had 2 conversations with 2 of our select board members in Wilmington and, just talking about this issue we have in town. And I know that 2 of them are in favor of having some kind of a housing authority. So I don't know if this would be something that the towns would be involved with, or it would be a private organization, or.
The towns might be involved. I would think that it would be a private nonprofit though, probably.
I think we want to remove the liability of the program from the town's plates, right? I think, obviously assisted by the towns, possibly partially funded by the towns, but I think it's its own, like Sue said,
Nonprofit.
private nonprofit. That's a good point though, Diane. Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, I think, valley-wide, there's really a good understanding of, okay, here's what the problems are. It's just, we don't seem to have, nobody really has the answers for those problems yet. So I think this has the potential to be one of the answers. I don't think it's the be all end all, but I think it's, if we were able to pull something together, like I said, even if it was small to start, you got to start somewhere.
Yeah, and eventually, just like Wyndham Windsor Housing Trust, I mean, what they do is that they use their funds to go for a grant, and they use their funds as match money,
Right.
to build housing, and so or to renovate housing, existing housing. So I mean, I think that we would have to set up some sort of similar criteria around that. I'm trying to think, I'm wondering if we could get some of those people that were that put together for the, what's the building called out by Deerfield Valley Supply? The Roundhouse. They had, there was a local group, and I'm pretty sure Nikki Steele was on that, and Cindy Hayford, I think, might have been on that as well.
I think Ann Manwaring may have been on that also, Gretchen.
Right. And I'm wondering if maybe, I mean, it was a really challenging project, and it went south for a while, but then they brought it back up, and it ended up working. And Wyndham Windsor Housing Trust actually has taken over that building now. But I'm wondering if we could, because I think we struggle a little bit with capacity, and I'm wondering if we could, like take experience from those people who have kind of done it before.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I was thinking in terms of this Mad River Valley group. And the more I'm looking at it, they have a housing trust fund, or they're trying to establish one. So I'm not sure how far they've made it, but they do have links on there to housing trust funds in Burlington and Montpelier.
Okay. Thank you, Sue.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think that we are interested in hearing from these other people, or should we try to do that reach out to?
I mean, I don't think it would hurt any kind of information we can get, just to sort of get an idea of how we can get this off the ground would be helpful.
Yeah, I think it always helps if somebody else has done what you're trying to do to try and learn from them instead of starting from scratch without, just on your own.
Oh yeah, no, definitely no need to recreate the wheel if somebody's already done the work and is willing to share. Completely agree there. I don't mind, reaching out to some of these other groups and just seeing if they're interested in having. We actually spoke. I mean, we had somebody from Gretchen, wasn't it the Mad River area that
We did.
Yeah.
the director, I think, of one of their housing programs,
Huh.
we
Maybe that
actually,
was it.
we spoke to her. She called to ask us questions.
Right.
So we could potentially return the favor if they actually have that program off the ground up there and kind of get some information from her. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I was like, what, didn't we contact them for something, but was it marketing or was it housing?
No, that was definitely housing.
Housing, yeah, it was. Interesting.
Okay, so, maybe before next meeting, I'm happy to take a crack at that and see if I can collect some information. If anybody else, digs around and finds anything they want to bring to the next meeting as well, that's great. But I will definitely, set up a time to try to speak with them and see if I can get some info.
Do
Okay.
you want me to try to talk to Cindy, Gretchen? Cindy Hayford? And,
Yeah, that would be great.
okay. I'm happy to do that.
This is Becky.
Did we ever, oh, sorry.
This is Becky. I will see what I can dig up at Shire's Housing. Even though we're not called a land trust, we are set up exactly like a land trust. We're a nonprofit. So I will see what I can find out. I don't work on that end of it, but I'll see what I can find out for you.
Really appreciate that, Becky. Thank you. So, refresh my memory here, anyone who's been involved in this longer than me. Did we ever receive an official response from Wyndham and Windsor Housing Trust as to why they're kind of skipping over projects or not as involved in our area?
No.
No. Okay.
I believe they only have limited capacity. They
Oh,
can only
sure.
do so much at a time, and the other needs have been more in the forefront for them.
No, that makes total sense. Like I said, I had never really heard, kind of where the road split here with them and why we were, all I knew was that we were looking in a different direction because we didn't feel like, we were going to get too far in the immediate future by just sticking with them. So I appreciate the,
Yeah, only verbally did I, hear them say, and it wasn't Elizabeth who actually said it. It was, I'm sorry, I can't remember the person's name actually right now, but that, they were really focused on the homelessness issue in Springfield, Bellas Falls, and Brattleboro.
And I actually heard that same thing.
How's the Dallin Chalet project going for them? That's gonna be homeless, right?
Yeah, that's going really well. They actually reported on that yesterday that they're going to be moving into the chalet. I didn't write down how many units are there. Do you know, Sue?
No, I don't remember how many, but there've been people living there since they renovated it. And there's, I think they're talking about getting a few more people in. It's, I think full.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
That, yeah.
They still had 209 people that were staying in motels.
Right. And they had talked about maybe doing additional work at that on that property, but I don't think they've made any progress yet with that.
There's talk about Wyndham, the former Austin buildings and that land
Yes.
becoming some housing.
Right, they're
That's
working on
with
that.
Chloe, Gary, Winston Prouty.
They just got some money from the state to look at infrastructure there.
Huh?
But they
So-
don't have a developer or anything yet.
Right. Emily Kornheiser was there yesterday and she reported in, I'll just give you like some of the highlights here. There's lots of money coming in for housing. And, they're trying to figure out how to spend it. So if you have ideas, I think reach out to our
Mhm.
legislatures, you know, to work on that. You know, cross parties, she said, everybody feels like there is a housing crisis. So it's not a difficult sell. And, you know, she had, she was a little frustrated with the new language that people are using, instead of affordable housing. You know, it's turning over to workforce housing, and she feels that they're two different pieces. So she's trying to embrace the new language. However, she's having difficulty doing that. And there's definitely more money. So there's going to be 2 budget adjustments during this year. One's on infrastructure. And then because of infrastructure money that's going to be coming in, which would be, you know, wastewater and water problems. And let's see, she's private development for private residents. No bill is on the table as of yet. But you know, somehow we need to start incentivizing private single or double housing.
That's past there, you look like a Chevy commercial, it was like you just blasted through a 12-foot high snow bank. Truck.
So that was, so there was a lot of hints in the state of address. And let's see, recovery housing, you know, that's, she's really concerned about this piece, and there's lots of discussion around it, and how do we make it, how do we come up with a good solution for recovery housing? Case managers and counselors, there's a huge shortage, and you know, need to get need funding again for that piece of it. So Sue, did you have anything else to add?
Not from that, no, I
Yeah.
don't think so. Those are highlights, yeah.
So yeah.
So I think I will take my marching orders to contact these additional, you know, these other housing trusts. If any of you want to do any kind of research, like I said, about, you know, potential funding sources or any of those things, feel free to do so, and let me know prior to the next meeting when we talk about this stuff again, because the more of us that can kind of get some eyes on this stuff, and the more outside we're thinking about it, the more successful we're going to be, right? If it's just one person solely focused on it all the time, I don't think we get as far when we have a whole group of people who can kind of be pitching in and helping, right? So let's try to do that if we can. If you have questions, let me know. Other than that, I think
I have
that's.
one other thing.
Oh, sure, Sue.
Gretchen, I don't know if you mentioned the bylaw modernization grant that was successful.
Oh, yes.
So that's
How
exciting because
dare I
that's
forget?
going to help Wilmington with their regulations related to housing.
And the select board did actually approve the senior housing new zoning
Oh.
passed. So
Okay, good to know.
for those changes, so yeah.
Small
I'll
steps.
just have it. Yeah, small steps. But yes, it was great that we got that grant. I just heard about that yesterday, so exciting news.
It is, yeah.
All right. Thank you, Sue. Thank you, Gretchen. Anything else before we go? All righty. So our next meeting will be Wednesday, February 9th from 3 to 4. We will continue our virtual meetings for the time being, as long as everybody's okay with that. And yeah, if you have anything you want to see on that agenda, just make sure you get it to me. Typically, like the Friday before our Wednesday meeting would be very helpful. And we will see you all in February. Thank you for coming.
Take care.
Thanks,
Eric.
everyone. Stay
Bye, guys.
warm.
Bye.